Hello again, this is Chris Chirilla, the GI movie critic, with my half year in review. It is the 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. That also means that the year is half over. With that in mind, I will give a brief rundown of my favorite and unfavorite movies I've seen this year. Of the films I've seen that I've liked, they've been predominantly comedies. My favorite one being the John Cusack comedy Hot Tub Time Machine, which, much like Snakes on a Plane, the very title is the pitch of the movie itself. Now, using a hot tub as a device to travel back in time is naturally ludicrous. However, that in a way actually opens up the rest of the movie to be as free as it possibly can, and puts the question into the character's hands: what would you do in the past to make your life better? And now it is a tad disjointed at times, but the way in which it is faithful to capturing the spirit of the 80s is certainly recognizable and noteworthy, and it just has a good sense of fun about it. The other noteworthy movies I've seen, in my opinion, have been the romantic comedies She's Out of My League and Youth in Revolt, which I both give a B+ to. What made She's Out of My League stand out was two things. First, that it was structurally sound. For me, the structure of a film is important. It's basically a sort of a road map to the movie, certain points at which I expect certain things to happen. These high points I picked up from a book entitled Save the Cat, written by screenwriter Blake Snyder, who recently passed on. Rest in peace, Blake. Anyway, aside from being structurally sound, She's Out of My League also took perhaps one of the oldest romantic cliches, the chase to the airport, and put a twist on it. And that alone makes it a noteworthy movie. The other movie, as I mentioned, is Youth in Revolt, another romantic comedy starring Michael Cera, as you know, of Juno and from the TV series Arrested Development. In this, he once again plays a quiet, somewhat unassuming teenager who has parents who are, for lack of a better term, trailer trash. And it just so happens he meets the girl of his dreams at you guessed it, a trailer park. Now, in most romantic comedies, it's about the guy trying to make himself better in order to get the girl. Well, the twist on this one is he becomes the bad boy, and he channels an inner sociopath, much like in the vein of Fight Club. In this, however, his Tyler Durden is named Francois Dillinger, a cigarette-smoking, mustachioed Weisenheimer. What makes this film good is, even though it clocks in at only 90 minutes, it hits all the high points that I once again mentioned. It was structurally sound, and the moments of humor were truly unexpected. I mean, it took what you were expecting and just twisted it all around, which is what you want in a movie, seeing something you haven't seen before. So there you have it, my top 3 picks for best movies that I have seen this year. Of course, no list would be complete without also mentioning some of the movies which I truly disliked. In this case, there were 2 films, both of which I saw in January. The first being the Denzel Washington vehicle, The Book of Eli. My main problem with this film was that while Denzel was certainly a compelling character, there were some logic errors and gaps in which people did things which there was no explanation for, and it needed one. And also, I felt the role Gary Oldman played, that of a villain, was underused. I mean, at his most, pardon my slight vulgarity, at his most badass, he was menacing a blind woman and her teenage daughter. Now, I certainly expected more from a man who, in the film Professional, was a drug-using, out-of-control, murdering, corrupt DEA agent. Needless to say, I was very disappointed. The other film which I disliked being somewhat a generous term, is the James Cameron film Avatar. This movie, I don't understand how people can like it. Granted, the special effects were certainly good. I will not deny that. To do so would be the height of stupidity. But, as I said in my introduction, special effects are not the end-all, be-all of a movie. There needs to be a story to it, a plot, interesting characters, much like in his film Aliens. Now that was perhaps one of his better efforts, not to mention also featuring a strong female protagonist in the character of Ellen Ripley. In this one, however, I felt his plot was a complete rip-off of Dances with Wolves, at least for the first two acts. In the third act, he then went and ripped off Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Now, I don't know exactly where along in this movie I realized that he was ripping off these movies, but once I did, I completely lost interest. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew exactly what each character was going to do, and they did it. There was no surprise. There was no drama. There was no tension. There was no reason for me to stay in the theater, but I did just in the hope that there would be some type of surprise, and I was disappointed. Well, that's it for my half year in review. Coming up this month, I will have 5 movies on my plate that I'm currently tracking. The first being Salt, a thriller starring Angelina Jolie, followed by Night and Day, an action comedy starring Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz. Next on the plate is the latest from M. Night Shyamalan, The Last Airbender, an adaptation of the Japanese anime, followed up by Predators, the latest entry in the Predator series, which was written and produced by Robert Rodriguez. And finally, on the 31st, will be the latest effort from Christopher Nolan, best known for his revamping of the Batman series. His latest effort, a non-Batman movie entitled Inception. Now, I certainly have no idea what it's about, but given his track record, I'm certainly willing to see it. So until next time, this is Chris Chirilla, the GI Movie Critic, and I'll see you at the movies.